seen before that comic book adaptations of sci-fi TV shows can be a little less than impressive.
Star Trek.
But is that true of every adaptation in this area? We take a look at Doctor Who's foray into the illustrated page to find out.
Starting with the most recent, we took a look at Doctor Who Skyjacks, Volume 3, which features the, let's say, 12th Doctor, Matt Smith, along with his most recent companion, Clara Oswald.
Yeah, I think we can say 12 now after the events of Day of the Doctor. For any of you big Whovians out there, we are assuming that John Hurt is the newly minted 9th Doctor.
Yes, and we understand that that could be arguable. I know that number-wise you could consider him to be kind of an in-betweener, kind of like the Valiard is supposed to be popping up between number 12 and number 13, so... But we're just going with this for now,
Let's go
okay?
with it.
Anyway, Skyjacks.
Yes! Clara Oswald wakes up to find the TARDIS out of power and then gets stuck in a repeating corridor with a big red button that absolutely must not be pressed under any circumstances. So once she presses it, she finds herself falling through the air and into the middle of a war between aliens, robot pterodactyls, and the crew of a World War II bomber.
I was actually surprised by this one. I mean, it captures the feel of the show whilst enjoying not having to work to a BBC budget. I think Andy Diggle and Eddie Robson's dialogue stays true to the series and ties in nicely without requiring too much foreknowledge, so that's great. I wasn't a huge fan of Andy Kuhn's artwork, though.
Yeah, it was a little sketchy and there were a few too many blank backgrounds, but they were trapped in a place that didn't seem to have any ground, so it didn't really bother me. Next up, we took a look at a couple of the Doctor Who omnibuses. Omnibuses?
I think we're fine with omnibuses.
Omnibuses?
That's just
Omnibuses.
fine. Yes. So, keeping with the working backwards through time theme, we checked out the Doctor Who Omnibus number 2, mainly starring David Tennant's Doctor, with a single Matt Smith story, A Fairy Tale Life, right at the end.
Let's be honest from the outset. Tennant is my favourite Doctor of the new batch, so I was predisposed to like this.
Yeah, I might have to admit the same thing. David Tennant is fantastic.
And he is faithfully rendered here by writers like Tony Lee and Jonathan L. Davis. The humour that we associate with Tennant's Doctor is clearly there, along with the darkness that he could bring to the role.
I also like the slightly cartoonish quality that was evident in the artwork. Artists like Al Davison, Matthew Dow Smith, and Kelly Yates do a great job of bringing this universe to life.
I think it's possible that Whovians are going to get more out of this than the casual reader, but honestly, why would you pick this up if you weren't a Doctor Who fan? So I don't think that really matters.
Our final Time Lord on the block brings us to the Doctor Who Classics Omnibus Volume 1, mainly starring the two Bakers, Doctor 4, Tom Baker, and Doctor 6, Colin Baker, although there are appearances by Doctor 1 and Doctor 7.
And that's one of the things that I loved about this. You can slot in earlier or later incarnations without having to worry about actor availability or indeed them getting older. Beyond that though, there are some great stories in here that take you right back to the old school Who tales.
True, a lot of great writers like Grant Morrison and Steve Moore make their presence felt in this collection, along with some era-faithful art, mainly by Dave Gibbons. So there you have it. Unlike some other franchises, Doctor Who translates quite well to comics.
I agree. I mean, it may be due to the materials. You've got a small reoccurring cast and the entire span of space and time to play with. It gives creators a lot of freedom, and I think it thrives as a result.
Absolutely. So if there are any other Who adaptations you think we should take a look at, then please let us know. I mean, Paul McGann alone has a huge following in terms of spin-off novels and audiobooks, so there are lots of stories left to tell, most of them with a lot of running.
Love the running.